Hi friends, it's Fluffy Toad. This is a Fortified Afflicted Raging Week. The main affix that we're going to be dealing with is Afflicted. Here are my talents, and the main one you should focus on is having Decurse. Having Decurse as a mouse over is super helpful. Here's my character, you can view my armory in the description. With all that out of the way, let's get on to the key. Just like last time, we're going to pick up Verse. Going into this massive pool, I'm going to use Lust and Mirror Images. Then I'm going to cast Fireball into Phoenix Flames with my combustion ready. Make sure that you're always using your Living Bomb. The CDR that Living Bomb gets from every explosion means it should almost always be up for this pull. Now it might be tempting to focus a Lasher because he has a lot of health, but you should focus the Skitterflies instead. They get a stacking buff that increases the amount of damage they do to you and your team over time. Along with Raging, they're a big danger mob. So let me explain a mistake I make here. I munch a hot streak. This means that I use my hot streak up while I have my SKB available. I had a shimmer ready, so I could have easily prevented munching this hot streak. We have 6 skitterflies in this pack, so the chances of one of them targeting me is super high. I used my invis, and it just so happens that right before it ended, one did. I took no damage because I had the invis DR and also a shield on. You might be asking, why am I wasting my defensives right now? Well, I'm not really worried about any of the bosses on a Fortified week. Here, I'll show you. As you can see, even with nothing up, Outburst will not kill me. So using defensives here is far more important. So right here, I don't have mini combustion or combustion available, so I'm free to look for any rogue afflicteds.
One afflicted spot. Clear.
Whether or not it's tyrannical or fortified, it's important to understand boss mechanics and how you can optimize your DPS. When Tree Boss starts doing Germinate, you should use your Living Bomb on the second set of ads. The reason why you use it on the second set is by the time it expires, all of the ads will have been fully spawned. This means you can have Living Bomb every 12 seconds, which is about 3 to 4 Living Bombs while all the ads are still up. This is just free damage. So we killed the ad a little bit too slow, and the boss started casting Germinate while I still had SKB up, so I had to hold the SKB. This was not that big of an issue because it just happened to line up with my combustion. At this point, it's just rinse and repeat. Burn the boss down before your healer runs out of mana.
One afflicted spot. Clear.
Look at the screen, you dumb shit. I'm trying to get your attention. screen, you dumb shit. I'm trying to get your attention.
Two afflicted scarred. Cleared. One afflicted scarred. Cleared. One afflicted scarred. Cleared.
As a fire mage, you should never be holding your combustion. The higher your combustion uptime, the more damage you're going to be doing overall.
Two afflicted scarred. Cleared.
So I'm going to use combustion right here, and I'm not really worried about having it up for the boss, because I know with the amount of CDR I have as a fire mage, it doesn't really matter.
Two afflicted scarred. Cleared. Two afflicted scarred. Cleared.
As you can see, my combustion is ready, and we're going to be going into boss, so I'm super happy at the moment. Last time we were in this dungeon, it was tyrannical, and this boss was very, very scary. 2 stacks could potentially kill me, but this time around, I'm not even breaking a sweat. There's not really much this boss can do unless we go past 4 or 5 stacks. If you're interested in learning more about the bosses and how you can survive their mechanics, there's a tyrannical video that I have for this dungeon. It goes through how to use Not Even Close. You can find this video in my description.
One afflicted stomped. Clear. Two afflicted stomped. Clear.
So going into the damage app, it's ideal to have your combustion and mini combustion up. If they're not available, it's not that big of a deal. Your goal as a fire mage is to have high combustion uptime, so you should not be saving your cooldowns.
One afflicted stomped. Clear. Two afflicted stomped. Clear. Two afflicted stomped.
Destruction!
Clear. One afflicted stomped.
Destruction!
Cleared.
So right here, the scepter's about to go off. I have DB and Explosive Wave available, but I do not use it. This is very bad on my part, and I should always be looking for ways to use these abilities.
Afflicted stomped. Cleared.
Another thing to note is you can see our priest out there in the open. Since he's the furthest target out, he's always going to be targeted by the ambush. You can LOS the ambush while keeping all of the mobs grouped. Something that I could have done to help is if I was the furthest target out, I could have hid behind one of the braziers every time he jumped. Unfortunately for me, all of the mobs are enraged, but I still have my kick available. This means I could have potentially still lived despite not having a healer around.
Two afflicted scald. Cleared.
Despite the fact that I've been talking about using combustion on cooldown, I don't use it in this case. This is probably a mistake because I probably could have had combustion backup for the next pack. As you can see, our priority target is the scepter. You can't kick it, you have to CC it. This means using Dragon Breath or Explosive Wave.
Two afflicted scald. Cleared.
Right here, our priest sits on the edge. This is a spot where you can maintain line of sight without having to cancel your casts. So if you're ever in a position where you can sit here, you should.
Two afflicted scald. Cleared. Two afflicted scald.
Destruction.
Cleared.
Unfortunately for us, on this pull, our tank died, and there's not much we can do about that. Since we have a druid, we don't need to release. However, our tank releases anyways, but that's not that big of a deal. DH tanks can skip mobs by using Misery and Shadow Meld. So if you're playing with a DH tank, you guys can skip mobs that are not CC immune. This time around, the pull goes way better. You should always try to let your tank use his CCs first, but pugging, that's a little hard. You kind of have to get a feel for your tank throughout the run to be able to know whether or not you can trust him. But when you're in doubt, you should use DB or Blast Wave. So if you wipe, it's not really your fault.
Two afflicted scald. Cleared. Two afflicted spawned. Cleared.
Right about now, we're debating whether or not we should be lusting this boss or a later giant pool. Personally, I fall into the camp of lusting on CD on Fort Weeks. None of the bosses are scary, so there's no reason to hold. Since I've already talked about Vexamus, you can go watch the Tyrannical video if you want to learn more about this boss.
Two afflicted spawned.
Destruction.
Cleared. Morphing time. Morphing time. Morphing time. Two afflicted spawned. Cleared. Morphing time. 100.0%. Two afflicted spawned. Cleared. Morphing time. Two afflicted spawned. Cleared. Morphing time.
While doing the double misery skip, our dragon runs too far forward. Because of this, he enters combat, and you'll see why this is an issue later. During this pull, our dragon isn't anywhere to be found. He's still running up towards us. Because of this, we're losing a little bit of damage, which means the pull is going to last a little longer than usual. But luckily, it doesn't really matter because we were still gathering up the mobs at the time.
Two afflicted
Something that you might have noticed is that most tanks pull all of the mobs to the stairs. The reason for this is you can Z-axis the spinny boys. This means if you have any melee players, you don't really have to worry about them running out and losing damage. So if you're playing with a tank that doesn't know this trick, tell them after the dungeon is over. You don't want them to get offended and leave.
Two afflicted spawned. Cleared. 2 afflicted scout. Clear.
At this point, we're a little bit afraid of the timer, so we decide to pull these mobs into the boss. There's nothing really to worry about with these mobs except for the caster. What I do is I put him on focus, and then I use my focus kick macro. This way I can stay on the boss without having to swap target. If you're ever assigned a kick, this is one way to get around it. One thing I didn't really mention is room management. This is something I'll show you later when I get 3 stacks of the debuff.
Two afflicted scout. Clear. One afflicted scout. Clear. One afflicted scout.
Destruction!
Clear. Two afflicted scout.
Destruction!
Cleared. Morphing time. 100.0%.
As you're on your 3rd stack, you should start thinking about where you want to drop your puddle. There are 2 places that I like to drop my puddle. You can drop it at the very entrance of the room, right before the boss arena, or you can go into this little alcove. As a mage, there's really no reason for you not to run there, unless there's already a puddle there, but even then you can get really close to the wall. This provides your team more space, and it might have the added bonus of, if the orb hits the wall, it might not spawn at all. So you should really consider using this spot. Alrighty, that's the key. If you're interested in watching me on Twitch on occasion, I'll put my Twitch in the description. If there's anything you might think I could talk about or improve on, comment down below. And that's it. Thank you.